Speaking of ServiceNow, obviously, so you lead Corp Dev there now. You also, are involved with their venture arm, right? And I actually wasn't aware of this, but when I was preparing for this interview, and I saw, oh, ServiceNow has a venture arm, and I started doing some research on that, and I was like, oh, actually, a lot of the huge enterprise software companies out there all have their own venture arms, like Microsoft and Google and Oracle and SAP and Workday, like all these companies, right?
Yeah, that's
And
right.
so I guess a couple questions on that piece, which I find interesting, which is like, what is the strategic value for the parent company to have a venture arm like this? And then the second thing is like, I don't know if there's a big difference or maybe not that much of a difference between working in corporate venture versus like more of a traditional venture capital firm. Like, do you obviously you haven't done like traditional VC, but just based on what like how does that affect kind of your day to day or maybe like how you make decisions, I
Yeah.
guess?
There's a lot to unpack there on like difference between traditional VC and corporate VC. I guess the quick answer to that, and then I'll answer the first part, is um, corporate VC we are a strategic. We are out in the market. We're competing. We're selling software, and we have spaces that we play in, compete in, et cetera. So by nature, startup companies, early stage companies that could be relevant to us, could be adjacent to us, could compete with us. They're conscious that we are a role player in their market. We're not just a financial institution that's looking to invest capital and grow.
Yeah.
And so it's a more complicated conversation. That early stage company wants to know if they're going to let us invest. What does that mean? Does that mean that maybe we might acquire them in the future? Maybe we might compete with them in the future, and we want to keep tabs on them.
Yeah.
They want to know some of those things, and they treat strategics, I think, as a category differently from the way they treat just pure financial VC investors. So it's important to be eyes wide open about that when you get into that. And you're right, a lot of software companies have kind of a VC arm. As it relates to corp dev, so ServiceNow, again, really, I've been very fortunate to have come here, to have been here for, this is the longest I've been at any one job now, over 4 years. And ServiceNow has been incredible. So our team in corporate development has a bit of a broader mandate. We do acquisitions, obviously. We do execution of venture investments. We have a kind of a sister team that has an incredibly talented group that helps with sourcing, executing, and portfolio monitoring and reporting. So we have a ventures development team. My team does product focused partnerships. So I have folks that are kind of specialized in that area, and they map to all of the different product areas that we have at ServiceNow. And then I also oversee the acquisition integration team, or integration management office. And that's a few people that help take the ball after we close acquisitions and make sure that they're integrated properly. So, the thing that I kind of had this view 4 years ago, and I still think it's not totally appreciated. ServiceNow, my simple philosophy on it is, it's very hard to find a major trend in enterprise software that does not intersect some part of ServiceNow's business. ServiceNow is, over 10 billion of top line. We sell into 5+ major buying centers in large enterprise. We have, I think our CFO commented, 12 or more products with over 250 million of CACV. This is not kind of a monolithic single product scaling to the moon, company. This is many products, many buying centers, IT, HR, customer, ERP and finance and supply chain. Like, we do many, many things. And so what's exciting about that for my team is we are a very large single company who can be a large player in all of these different categories. And we organize my team to cover all of those different categories from a domain standpoint, from an acquisition standpoint, and obviously from an investment and partnership standpoint. The reason why that's beneficial to our venture strategy is, we might go invest in emerging technologies that are going to impact the HR software space or HCM space. We might invest in early stage companies that are relevant to aspects or ambitions that we might have in the future in the customer value chain. Obviously, we're very big in the CIO and IT organizations. We can invest in emerging technologies that are adjacent there. And that gives us an incredible amount of visibility, of insight, and honestly, it keeps us sharp on the latest things that are happening in those areas that do impact and benefit both our competitive and strategic position, but also our acquisition strategy. So it really build, buy, partner, invest. We look at everything through that lens. And I love that our team is kind of organized that way, organized by domain, and that we can really be sharp on that. But it is a lot of work, right? I have arguably a large team in traditional corporate development, but because of how many different places we touch within large enterprise software, it feels like there's a never-ending amount of work we could be doing in any one of those areas.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, like, I don't know how many employees ServiceNow has now, because obviously you guys are a huge business. And then like how big is like the corp dev and corporate ventures team specifically? And then also like what, like for students who maybe are interested in working, say, in corporate ventures one day, or even in corp dev, like what type of background or experiences are you guys typically looking for? Are you guys primarily hiring like former tech bankers or like former venture capital associates, or like what do you guys typically do, I guess?
Yeah, good questions. So a few things. We have, I think now 26, 27,000 employees as a company. In the last 4 years since I joined, we've grown from, I think, kind of 4 billion of run rate subscription software revenue to 12 billion of run rate in our latest quarter, which was reported earlier this week.
As all you guys got a nice pop.
We're an execution machine, and our CEO and our leadership talk about that, and that's been great. We also, I kind of, when we talk about kind of the domains and the areas we cover, AI is kind of a huge part of our platform that goes into everything that we sell in every buying center. So it's, we have kind of an interesting architecture. Speaking of like, Intel and Qualcomm could be comps in the market, but how different are they as businesses? We could be comped to Salesforce or Workday or others, but we are so different, just architecturally, top to bottom, despite the fact that we deliver and sell traditional SaaS, right? So it's important to unpack some of that stuff when you think about these businesses, and that's an exciting thing for us. That's creating a lot of opportunity for innovation and differentiation for us. As it relates to your question on like, how do you think about if you're, an emerging kind of interested in corp dev type person, what do we look for? We do look for, I think, traditional backgrounds, banking, private equity, consulting. A lot of the corp dev job is about going and sourcing externally, meeting companies, understanding what companies do, mapping competitive landscapes, advising our internal leadership on, does this acquisition opportunity solve some of the things you're looking for? Does it help accelerate us opportunistically in certain areas? So all of that work finds its foundations in the training that you get in investment banking and private equity, especially in software. And I do think it's helpful when we go and recruit, and we have the good fortune of having lots of candidates when we do interview and recruit. It's helpful when folks have software in their domain experience, because it's just harder to train someone who maybe was doing a completely different industry to just understand the mechanics of software, how you model software, etc. So that's important. And then I would say, this is my like shameless pitch. I think ServiceNow corporate development is the best place across all of technology to be doing corp dev. And it's because we do acquisitions, we do investments, we do partnerships, we engage with customers. I spend time with customers all the time. I'm going to be at our customer conference in 2 weeks. We get to think about many different buying centers in large enterprise, not just kind of a single category. We're at the middle of the big transition to AI, and you get kind of a rich experience across all of these different things that you'll work really hard, you'll spend time on things, you'll look at something and say, would I acquire this but not invest? Would I invest but not acquire? Should we just partner first and explore? Should ServiceNow be a customer of that technology? We have so many different kind of ways in which we can look at these businesses, and there's no good formula for like, what does it mean to grow your career in corp dev? But I can promise you that after a year in corp dev here, you will have worked on so many different kinds of transactions, and you will have looked at so many different kinds of software companies within enterprise software, that your diversity of experience will be leverageable if you want to go into VC, if you want to go into another corp dev role, if you want to go into partnerships and alliances, which creates a ton of value for large software platforms. I think there's just endless opportunity. And then on top of all of that, I was at Waymo where we were burning a lot of cash and I was helping fundraise. ServiceNow has the opposite problem. We generate a ton of cash. We have one of the best financial profiles in enterprise software. So part of the reason I came here and got excited about coming here was, as we just generate more and more and more cash, that becomes an opportunity for corp dev to have an impact and to, kind of bend the arc of growth and shareholder value creation for us. And so it's a very big responsibility, but I'm excited about it.
That is a great pitch, guys. Send your resume in to Vishal. All right, I'm gonna post his personal email on. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.